I want to be dangerous. If we look at any sports team or sports player, dangerous is a word we often use in that context. And you'll have the Springboks run onto the field and we'll say they are dangerous. They are very formidable in their domain, that they have a certain level of skill and competence and experience that makes them the kind of team that shouldn't be underestimated. Your job is to practice the art of recalibration. It is to have the self-awareness to know that I've gone off course and I need to recalibrate. And this entire little model for me has three components. The first is that you need to know what your destination is, which can be very difficult. If you are going to go from survival mode to being dangerous, inherent in that is that you have to change. And what that means is that you have to solve two problems at the same time, a math problem and a drama problem.
Are you still leading, or are you just coping? Have you become so consumed by performance, pressure, and pace that you no longer know whether you're building the future or simply surviving the present? Do you need more discipline, or do you actually need a complete recalibration? And if you're honest, are the habits that once made you successful now a part of what's keeping you stuck? Welcome to the CEO Lens. My guest is Erik Kruger, speaker, author, and someone whose work sits right at the intersection between personal growth, leadership, and future readiness. Erik, I want to start on a topic which I kind of found really interesting. And you used this word in your book called dangerous and about threats. And I thought you could just start unpacking that just to begin with.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. Pre-COVID, I had a coaching session with a client. And he's a CEO that's doing very well in his life. You know, there's no reason to feel sorry for him. His team is performing, his company is performing, he's in good shape, his family loves him, like everything is going really well in his life. And yet, like, we're having this conversation and there's just something that's kind of missing. And like, I don't know, it's like something like missing in his chest, like a bit of bite, a bit of fire. And we sit with it for a bit of time, you know, and we're like, we have to figure out what this is. And I think we realized pretty soon that he's stuck in survival mode.
Yeah.
Which is a weird picture because externally things are going really well and then internally stuck in survival mode.
What does that look like for him?
So survival mode has three characteristics. The first is that you become very reactive to your environment. You go through your day just putting out fires, just trying to get to the end of the day. You don't care about change, transformation, tomorrow. All you care about is, can I hold it together?
Operational efficiency.
Yeah, that's it. The second thing is that you operate from a place of fear, frustration, and anxiety. This creates two distortions in your mind, the distortion of probability, the distortion of severity. Distortion of probability says things are likely to go wrong. Severity says when it goes wrong, it's going to be catastrophic. So you go through your day like very busy with your hands. At night, your hands go idle, your mind fires up. You think about all these challenges in your life. You think things are going to go wrong. When they go wrong, it's going to be catastrophic. And this brings us to the third thing, which happens in survival mode. The things we do in survival mode keep us in survival mode.
So it's kind of a very myopic, operational, fearful, high level of anxiety.
High level of anxiety, and you don't know that you're in it. That's often the most insidious part of survival mode, is that you are busy every day and you feel like you are productive because you are busy, but actually you're just spinning your wheels. And that to me is one, like when I deliver talks and I mention these three characteristics of survival mode, that's often when people go, oh, like I didn't even realize I'm in it. But now that you mention it and I see that, I think I might also be in survival mode.
And the catalyst for the change, what was that catalyst within him to change?
Yeah, so we identify that he's in survival mode. But I'm like, why? You know, how did you get here? Because things are going so well in your life. And I probably spent another 2 weeks just thinking about it. And then one day, something like just jumps out at me. And the word that jumps out at me is harmless. That if I was looking at him and how he was showing up, the word I would use to describe him is harmless. So we get into our next coaching session. I say to him, listen, this is going to be a tough one to hear, but I want to just share this with you. If I had to describe you right now, the word I would use is harmless. And to his credit, I could see like
ego blow.
He sat with it,
Yeah.
and he absorbed it, and he was like, actually, I think that perfectly describes what I'm feeling. So we speak about it for a little bit longer, and then towards the end of the session, I said to him, okay, we've spent a few weeks now, like really feeling survival mode, understanding survival mode. We've now had this insight around like harmless and being harmless, but we can't stay here. So if you are not going to be harmless, then what will you be instead? And he said to me, I want to be dangerous. And it's just like the moment he said it, there was just something that clicked for me. Like I could immediately feel what he meant by saying that.
It wasn't reckless.
It wasn't reckless. It was that there's this level of like growth and like a bite and like a hunger that he wants to activate again. That
Almost
is dormant.
courageous.
Yeah.
Become courageous again.
And when I speak about this, I always see there's a group of people who get it. Like they know, they go like, I also want to feel like that. And then there's a group of people who don't really understand the word, because dangerous is quite a loaded word. And the way I explain it to them is to say, if we look at any sports team or sports player, dangerous is a word we often use in that context. And you'll have the Springboks run into the field and we'll say, they are dangerous. What do we mean by that? We mean that they are very formidable in their domain, that they have a certain level of skill and competence and experience that makes them the kind of team that shouldn't be underestimated. And the moment you realize that, you can go, okay, well, I can put those things into my life. I also want to be formidable, especially if you've been stuck in survival mode. Then that becomes very appealing to you. I also want to be formidable. I also don't want to be underestimated. And if I've thrown this to people and say to them, what does it mean to you? The words they come back with is, I want to be driven. I want to be motivated. I want to have momentum in my life. So I'm like, okay, cool. So actually we can use dangerous as a container and then contextualize it for you. Like, what does it mean to you? And that's the best way. Like, we want the word to mean something to you. So I was like, cool. Like, I also want to be dangerous. Like, I love the idea, and it set me off on this journey to go figure out what does that mean. Ultimately, I write the book about it. And where we ended up landing is to say that every single day, there are threats in your life. Right now, there are threats to your relationships, to your health, to your wealth, to your team, to your business. And how you respond to those threats really matter. And very often we are ineffective against the threat.
Yeah.
And this just means that you might not have the right way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
You might not have the skill. You might not have the emotional regulation for it. And the moment that happens, you can't be anything other than the victim to that threat. So where do you end up? You end up in survival mode.
Yeah.
And the alternative is that you get to be a threat to the threat. That you get to be a danger to the danger, that you get to be a bit more dangerous.
Yeah. So
And
a huge amount of agency comes back to you.
for sure.
Yeah. But as part of that journey, self-awareness starts to show up, right? Because you've got to take a good measure of yourself. And you talk a lot about recalibrating and that aspect of the journey of the individual. Just talk through some of those ideas. Did this individual go on that journey as well? Or was it something?
Yeah. I'm glad you start there, because the typical question that I'll get after I've told that story is, okay, but how do you become a threat to the threat?
Yeah.
And it's actually the wrong place to start, because what you are trying to do is you are trying to jump over the awareness component and the like sitting with it component, and you want to just get into the action of the how to. And the how to is actually the much easier part. The much harder part is to realize that I'm in survival mode. And to acknowledge that the reason I'm there is because of me. It's because of how I've showed up, how I've done things. So it makes it really hard for people to acknowledge. And I always think about that one quote, the Stockdale paradox, that said, you have to confront the most brutal facts of your reality, no matter what it might look like. And at the same time, always keep your eyes on the horizon and look towards what is possible. But he's not saying look towards what's possible and only do that. He's saying confront the brutal facts. So for him, a big part of the journey was us, and that's why we didn't rush it. It was us sitting in survival mode, figuring out what harmless looks like. That awareness component is probably the most important thing. And then next to that, once you've assessed, here, like this is where I am, the next part is, what are the threats that you are facing? When I was doing the book tour, I was speaking to lots of journalists, and the one guy said to me, but like, we all know what our threats are. And I was like, do you really? You know, have you ever really sat down and thought like about what are the things that are currently threatening your relationship with your partner? Or have you really thought about what are the threats to your team? And if you've done that, have you actually thought about, well, what do I need to do to be a threat to that threat? Because one thing to understand about this concept is it's not just about you. You being a threat to the threat means that you get to protect people around you. You get to protect things you care about. One of the interesting things that I found while researching the book was that danger, like way back in the day, used to mean to protect. So the way they would use it is, I stand in your danger. I stand in your protection. So if we bring it to the idea of the book, your ability to be a danger to the danger and a threat to the threat means that the things that you care about get to stand in your danger because you're effective against the threat. So,
but Erik, I think as a leader and as a CEO, there's always this tension between, you describe the word extract and exploit. And when I say extract versus exploit, is that we explore, beg your pardon, is that I think as leaders, when we get into that survival mode, we spend a lot of time on the extract side of things, right? Because we're fearful, we miss our targets, we miss our profit targets. We worry about the sustainability of our business, but we do it on a budget basis, a 1 year outlook. Versus explore says, what's possible? We're going to take this organization post 3, post 5 years. And I think if you're going to get out of that very survival defensive mode, you have to start getting more visionary and start imagining. And that's where courage needs to start kicking in.
for sure.
And I think sometimes it's all too easy to get caught up with the annual fiscals and go back to the extract component.
What do you think keeps leaders very stuck in extraction? Like, what do you think is the, like, one or two main things that you think keeps them stuck there?
So two things, right? One is your share structures and your incentives are tied to your annual performance. So hit your number in the year, there's your bonus. Very few of the targets that are set against CEOs have long-term 5-year strategies associated with them. So their survival and their cycles of survival are done year by year, not 5 years by 5 years. So if you want to survive, hit your profits, hit your revenue, and close the year out. Now, if the incentives and the share structures were taken on more of a 5-year view, build for the future, build for this, you would see their focus would move towards the vision. So that's one component.
Yeah.
The second component is the fear of failure. And ironically, you were describing the future as a threat. So if you're not a threat to the future, guess what? The future is a threat to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's the irony of it, right? Is that you're thinking that you're hiding yourself on an annual basis, but ultimately the third year is coming.
And I think that's why that third component of survival mode is so important, is because once you doing the same things give you the same result, and that's true for survival mode. So you stay stuck in it because you are doing the exact things that will keep you stuck in survival mode.
And you're rewarded for it.
And you're rewarded for it. Yeah. So that's
Which is
a
the
good point.
irony.
So like there's a structural component, like you mentioned, which is the incentives, and then there's the emotional component, which is this fear of failure.
One of the concepts we all got very excited about is this idea of good habits. If you line up enough good habits back to back, shoulder to shoulder, and slowly and surely over a year, this concept of 1%, I'll be a better version of myself as I exit out the year. Now, if I think of this individual that you're describing, if they were to do that, they may just be a less stressful person. But would they be where they want to be and where they spoke about being dangerous? They wouldn't. So how does that person not pivot on that point and actually do something? And you've got a favorite word here, right? It's the power move.
Yes. So there's actually like two ideas that I want to quickly try and like link together. The first is that if you are going to go from one state to another, so from survival mode to being dangerous, inherent in that is that you have to change. And what that means is that you have to solve two problems at the same time, a math problem and a drama problem. The math problem is I just have to figure out how to do the thing. And that's when people ask me, well, how do you become that? How do you become a threat to the threat? What they're asking is, how do I figure out the math? And my belief, and this is something you get taught when you do coaching, is that people can actually figure that out. They don't actually need me to tell them how to do it. And when we had a conversation earlier in the week, I mentioned to you that like I don't really get involved in the technicalities of leadership when I'm coaching leaders because I don't actually have to. Like as long as I can help you figure out the inner game, I believe that you can, with a clear mind and go and figure out how to do it for yourself because you have the experience, you have all of that stuff. You know, it's like you just need to figure out. Timothy Galway, who wrote The Inner Game of Tennis, said that performance equals potential minus interference. So my job is to minimize interference, like cognitive interference.
And focus on the potential.
Yeah. And if I can do that for you, then your performance potential starts lining up. So math and the drama. So I believe like if you want to be a threat to the threat, you can go figure out the math. What's going to trip you up is the drama component. And the drama component is that there's always an inner resistance to us going through change. When you have to go from survival mode to being dangerous, it's not just doing things differently, it's being differently. You know, it's feeling differently. And I think that's the hardest part for people to wrap their heads around. And the reason why it's difficult is because they don't think about it. They think that it's only the math that I have to go and solve. So I want to then, so we park that and I want to come back to this idea of power moves. My very first talk that I ever delivered in 2015 was about accretion. And it's still today one of my favorite words. It came from a quote from Alexander Graham Bell. And he said, those who are successful in the end will be those whose success is the result of steady accretion. And I had no idea what it meant, but I love the quote. So I went to go look it up. And accretion means growth or increase through the gradual accumulation of additional layers.
Yeah.
And they
Almost
say this is partly like how planets are formed. You know, it's that over the years they accrete more and more material onto themselves and they form additional layers until they become this big thing. So I immediately fell in love with this idea because it told me that what I need to accrete are small daily actions and habits. And if I can accrete and accumulate the right kind of thing, it'll give me a certain result. And for a long time, I was like, I lived by that. And even today, accretion is still a big part of my my vocabulary that I use in talks and stuff. But then last year, I had this additional realization, which was that there are certain goals that accretion can't get you to. That you can actually have two different sets of goals. One goal is that if I keep doing the right thing, eventually I will get to where I need to get to. But there are certain goals that actually require not continuous change, but discontinuous change. It requires you to do something completely new and different.
Give me an example of that.
I started calling that a power move. Well, I can give you like a very personal example for is that, and where this realization came about for me last year was that I'm big into content creation. You know, I have the podcast. I do almost a daily video that I put out. I do a YouTube video that goes out every week. I have a newsletter that I write called Modern Leader. So I put out a lot of content. And I was going to say I don't have a team, but I have an editor that helps me with the videos and I have a thumbnail guy that helps me. But all the scripting, all of that is still me. All the filming, that's all still me. So I put a lot out. And I realized last year that I was doing the same thing over and over, thinking that it'll accumulate and give me a different result. And I was like, what are you doing? Like you've so fallen in love with the idea of just consistency that you've not realized that this consistency isn't actually leading to the improvement that you want. You've forgotten that there's like that 1% better part that needs to be a part of it. And it feels like you're getting there, but actually if you step out and you look at it, it's not going to get you where you want to go, where you want to get to. So it made me take a very hard look at what I was doing and actually put a stop to many of the ways that I was creating content to do it in new and different ways. Even with my speaking career, there's a part of me that's always thought, I just accumulate more stages and it'll give me, because I'm mostly focused on breaking into the international market. And I thought accretion will just get me there. But I'm like, that's just one way of thinking about reaching that goal. What if you had to make more power moves? What would that look like? If you had to do something new, different, and discontinuous from the past, what would that look like? Oh, well, book 2 weeks in Dubai, go spend time there, go do the talks. Like, don't just wait for that to materialize. So it became, like a big theme for me towards the end of last year and into this year. And it's been very useful for people to think through, if you had to structure your goals, which goals are goals of accretion, meaning just do more of the same thing and you get there. Mostly optimization, like me wanting to shoot 85 in golf, that's a goal of accretion. More reps, more swings, more tweaking. And then what are goals that require a power move, where it needs to be discontinuous from the past and something new?
You also talk about accretion where, so you separate, you say they're both fundamentally important.
Yeah, for sure.
And I suppose the skill you got to develop as a leader, or even as an individual, is to know when to pull off the power move versus the accretion incremental movement. I think the balance of those two is probably quite critical. You also have an interesting take on the incremental part of it and say it's kind of like you're 1 degree off.
Yes.
And I love that concept. And you talk about an airport and you talk about if you're 1 degree off, and maybe you want to just build on that as well. Because I think incremental building is also okay if you're on the right track.
Yeah. Well, let me just first say well done on your research, because you are setting me up with all my best hits. So thank you for that. Yes, I open almost every workshop that I run with this idea of the 1 in 60 rule.
Yeah.
It's from aviation, and it says that when a plane takes off, it's always heading in a specific direction. And if that plane had to veer off course by just 1 degree, then by the time it's traveled 60 miles, it's 1 mile away from its intended destination.
Which is a problem.
Which is a problem. And obviously, the further you go, the further off course you get.
Yeah.
And I've run this simulation with ChatGPT, where I've asked, if you take off from Joburg and you are trying to land in Cape Town, but you veer off course by just 1 degree, by how much do you miss the runway?
Yeah.
And it turns out to be 25 kilometers.
So here's in Belito.
So yeah, exactly. You end up in the ocean somewhere.
Yeah.
So it becomes quite significant. And again, it's such a simple idea, but it's extremely powerful in its application. That we all have certain goals and aspirations that we are working towards. And the only way that you get there is to be aligned with the course that's going to take you there. But mostly we are actually going to drift. You are going to be pushed off course. And this might be because of an internal thing. It might be because the world is shifting around you. But your job is to practice the art of recalibration. It is to have the self-awareness to know that I've gone off course and I need to recalibrate. And this entire little model for me has 3 components. The first is that you need to know what your destination is, which can be very difficult. Like for businesses, it's very difficult sometimes to figure out where should we be aiming when the world is shifting so quickly.
And maybe it's where I don't want to land versus where I want to land.
Yeah,
that might be an important thing.
For sure.
What don't I want to do?
Which also ties into individuals, that as individuals, we are often so influenced by what they call mimetic desire that we look at the people around us and we mimic, copy what they've said they want to achieve. And we just port that into our lives. And we think that, okay, I want that thing as well. So you being able to stress test the destination that you're going to is really important. Then the second part is that, okay, now you're drifting. And it's not a question of will you drift? Because you will drift, because we all drift. It's a question of how long will you drift for? So
Of course, correct.
do you have the practice for self-awareness? And the drift means I need to practice self and situational awareness. And then the third part is, okay, now that I know, I need to recalibrate, and recalibration is change. And the moment we talk about change, you go back to where's the math and where's the drama? What is the technicalities I need to figure out? And what is the internal shift that I might need to go through? And once you have this model, it's so applicable. Like I can use this in almost any context when I talk about change or awareness for teams. And there's so much we can dig into just in those 3 components.
Yeah.
But it's a really useful model, I think, from an awareness perspective.
Let's take the concept and let's put it into a leader.
Yeah.
And you've now outlined the individual's journey. We talked about power moves. Now, as an individual, you don't just lead the organization alone, right? You have a team. And probably a lot of these concepts are very useful. You talk about a transformative leader. You talk about a leader that, and I think you presuppose a lot of the maths in place, right? You talked about the error.
Or that they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the piece that's probably most important here is how they show up as a leader. Because you often talk about you set the emotional tone in the organization as a leader, how you show up. Are you showing up with vulnerability? Are you showing up with a level of self-awareness? All those components you just described. And I'm just wondering, your take of a leader, I think, is quite unique and different. And you talk about psychological safety. You talk about checking in, enabling leader as a leader. Maybe let's just unpack that a little bit, because I think it's a very powerful insight of a leader today, particularly in the face of the threats that we are getting coming through so rapidly, plus also the acceleration of AI. So that is, for a leader, can become quite overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
Yeah, competition's rising. AI is creating a lot of chaos and uncertainty. And so therefore, your ability as a leader to make all the right decisions, to hold the court and to lead everyone isn't a realistic model anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, the world is changing. And the way that I've been thinking about it is that transformational times require transformational leaders. Because I think that's always been true. Like if you think of different times in history have required different styles of leadership to rise and to get us through it. And to me, it just makes so much sense that if you are in such a vastly transformational space, then you need a transformational leader that's going to get you through it. And there's sort of two components to that when I think of a transformational leader. One component is your ability to transform yourself. This can't be understated. It can't be like, I can't emphasize how important this is. Research has shown us by now that in organizations where leaders are able to model the behavior they want to see in others, transformation is 5.3 times more likely to occur. So if you want to heavily skew the odds in your favor, you need to show people how you are able to transform and not just talk about it. So your entire response towards change and transformation is being picked up on, and then your willingness to engage with it. And we see a lot of studies coming out of leaders, for example, who are pushing AI on people but not using it themselves. So like, of course that's going to fail. So, but that's one part of it, is that you have to be able to model that behavior for others. And again, the moment we go into that, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the math and the drama. It just becomes so easy to layer that back in the entire time. Then the second part is, well, you also need to transform others. And of course, we know we can't change people. Would have been great, but we can't. But what you can do is you can hold a space for people to change. And you can assist them and be with them on that journey. And the moment we start moving into that, the question becomes, okay, well, what sort of an environment do you need to create as a leader for others to change? And I actually think if you want to simplify it heavily, it just means that as a leader, you become more coach-like. Because that's what coaches are really good at. You know, they're good hosts. They hold a space for you to process, to think through.
In a safe space.
In a safe space. Like there's no judgment.
No right answer.
And psychological safety becomes sort of the center point of that, of the environment you're creating. So that to me is where we are today. I was watching, because it's Soccer World Cup time, and I was watching an interview with Zlatan, and they've had all these clips of him, and he's very confident, bordering arrogant. And this one clip, they say, "You have lots of followers," and he says, "No, not followers, believers." And I thought about that this morning. I was like, that's actually exactly what transformational leadership is about as well. It's actually that if you're a good transformational leader, then you create a space where people believe in the mission.
It's a bit of the inspirational aspects of leadership, right?
They feel inspired by where we are going, and they've bought into that destination. They believe in you as the leader. They believe that you are competent and confident, and that you have their back, and that you can get us there. And then they believe in themselves. And that is because as a transformational leader, you can hold that space for them. You can reflect it back on them. You have reverse charisma. You know, charisma is, I'm the magnetic one. I'm the one that shines. Reverse charisma is, I put the spotlight and the attention on you. I make you the interesting one. I make you the center of attention.
So now if we have a leader that's transformed, right? High self-awareness, inspirational, provides support, psychological safety, clear vision, where we want to be, we're starting to get a clear picture. But there's this other idea about an organization, and it's quite an old book, The Anti-Fragility. And I love the concept. The idea being that you can build an organization that, given the uncertainty of the future, given the threats and the shocks it's going to face, its ability to absorb those shocks, its ability to be future-proofed. Maybe let's get into that, because I think if an organization can achieve that, it almost becomes bulletproof, and it comes back stronger after every shock because of the belief, because of the leadership style, because of the way the transformative leadership has shown up.
But I actually think that is the key to an anti-fragile organization, is a lot more about creating people that are able to tolerate ambiguity, and then maybe the systems part of it. Because so anti-fragility, we have these shocks, we come back stronger. The examples they'll use is Netflix, who has the chaos monkey, and they let the chaos monkey loose on their service, and they find the issues, and as a result they can fix them, and so in the future they'll be more bulletproof against those sort of issues. Or the quintessential example is like you stretch a muscle, but the muscle gets stronger because it's been under stress and tension. But I must say that I find anti-fragility is something people really struggle with to execute in practice. And when I say in practice, I mean like putting the systems in place. Like it's quite difficult to think about what do we do as a business, because the world is changing so rapidly. It can be tough to think like, what do we do that's going to make us really anti-fragile from a systems perspective? And I find that people struggle to implement that. But what they are much better with is, let's build people that are more anti-fragile versus the systems. I don't see as many good examples. Maybe you have more examples than I do, but I don't see as many good examples of people really building anti-fragility into the system.
I think if you want to build an organization that has anti-fragility in it, I think it's the ability to the organization to rally under a crisis. Do you get energy from a crisis? Do you close ranks under a crisis? Do all the frictions between the various functions just go away and everyone closes ranks and realize it's us against them? And I think if you can build an organization that thrives and takes delight in the crisis, I think you're building an anti-fragile organization.
I love that.
Because I think if you see crises as threats and it's the end of the road and woe is me, and it's a failure, then I think you've just demonstrated the fragility of your organization. But rather, if you see it as a threat, which we all respond to, and we all hunker down and we come back stronger. And I think, I hate to always go back to it, but I think COVID kind of separated those different organizations. You know, there were those organizations that packed up their bag, went off to the beach holiday, and called it quits for 3 months. We had one of our best performances over that period. And it wasn't because we're special, it's just because we showed up under those circumstances and we saw that we had a role to play, that patients needed us, and that therefore we need to be present and we need to keep moving and keep doing what we're doing. And I think that ability to deal with a crisis for me is super critical.
I think you've articulated it perfectly. Anti-fragility lives in the people. It lives in the culture more than in the systems. And immediately, like what I was just thinking about is I saw the stock price of Getty Images recently. And they've been decimated. obviously, because everyone is now generating images through ChatGPT and Claude, like we don't need stock photos anymore when I can just generate it.
Right.
So like my question would be like, how would they have been anti-fragile? Like I can't see it. Like I would much rather have asked like, how can they be adaptable? Sure. Like that might be a better question already. But the thing is like, how do you build anti-fragility when the world is so disruptive? Like you don't even know how to plan for the disruption that's coming.
Yeah.
But what I can do is to exactly what you said is I build a culture where
Take
people
pleasure.
are flexible and where people rally together and we identify the threat and we become a threat to the threat as a collective and we have language that inspires us. So if you go back to the academic side of transformational leadership, so it was coined by a guy called Bernard Bass. He was a political advisor back in the 1970s or 80s. And he said there's 4 aspects to transformational leadership. It's inspirational motivation, so being able to articulate a vision of the future, rally people together. Individualized care, so showing the individuals that we care about you. Intellectual stimulation, so getting people to think differently. And then idealized influence, so us role modeling the behavior to others. And all of that together for me, again, like that creates an environment where we have people who are adaptable and flexible and leaders who are stepping up and showing us how to respond to the crisis and to the moment we are in.
So if you've got a leader listening now, and we've spoken about a very uncertain future, and we don't have to describe that, we know it's here.
Yes. Yeah.
Where would you tell them to put their focus?
I would tell them to put their focus internally. I would tell them that everything flows from the conversations you have with yourself, from the conditioning that you have, and the people around you see how you respond to situations around you, all influenced by what's happening internally. So I just think it's very difficult to win in the game of business if you aren't creating a space to raise your own self-awareness and to identify the triggers that you are also sitting with. I get called to offsites all the time, and I love attending offsites. I love it for the vibe of it. I love it for the braai afterwards and like all of that. But one of the things I enjoy the most is before I go and deliver my session, I'm always sitting just watching the team interact. And it's always fascinating for me to see how quickly I can pick up on tension in the team and who's good friends and like where's there a bit of friction between people. But what I very often find is that a leader will bring me in and say, we need to fix the team. And then when I'm sitting there, I realize, oh, actually, this was just a self-awareness issue. They are the issue. They are projecting stuff onto the team.
Yeah.
They are creating the environment that is creating a dysfunctional team.
Yeah.
And they are trying to get us to fix the team when it has to start with how they are showing up for the team. So again, that's an internal journey. That is you dealing with your stuff first. So I just feel like if you are trying to figure out how to deal with a very uncertain world, that's creating a lot of anxiety for us, where you have to give up the hope of certainty. Like the only place you're going to find that certainty is internally. Like trust yourself to be able to figure things out. Trust yourself to lead the team. Trust yourself to be there for the team. Know that you have to go through your own bit of an identity shift, that you don't have all the answers anymore. And you can't have all the answers. And that's okay. But if you've always been the guy with all the answers, it's tough to let go of that. But these are all the internal shifts that I think will be required.
Yeah.
And so that's where your focus should be.
Erik, I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed the conversation, and I think it's very liberating as a leader. One, to know you don't have to know all the answers. And secondly, that your biggest gift to the company is to actually fix yourself.
Definitely.
But further than that is actually make space and time to support and enable those people around you to have the empathy, to have the inspiration, also, most importantly, is to give them the safety to find the answers themselves. And I think the other very exciting thing is that I like the comment you made is don't look outside for the solutions, look inside. Because it's very distracting when you're looking at the competition. It's very distracting when you look at the economy. And I think sometimes we have to rise above that landscape. And that comes back to who we are, and it comes back to our organizations and our people and what we do. And that's what we're in control of. So thanks for the inspiration and thanks for the guidance.
No, thanks for being such a generous and gracious host.
Lovely. Thanks, Erik.
Thank you.